States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We were saying that this week.
So the meeting is called to order. The pledge, privilege of the floor. I don't see any yes. We're good? You recording? Good. Okay. We have our minutes on page 3. If they're reviewed. And if so, motion, Dave, Converse, second.
Second.
Somebody said second. I didn't saw Bill, but somebody else over here.
John Bean.
I'll give it to Bill. I saw you. I only heard the other person.
I'll get you next.
Sorry, Dave. I'm not so sharp today. So we have a first and a second. Any further additional discussion? Regarding that, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes carry. Treasurer's report, page 6. Paul, please.
Nothing really interesting to report or significant to report. You'll see there's the comparative balance sheets all in line. Our COVID revolving loan fund and Clayton funds are all in line with what we've seen. I don't see any delinquencies, do I? Which is really good news. And even the ag program is in line with budget expectations.
I'm never in line.
That's a tall order.
And
I don't
really,
wanna set
other than
false
that, it's pretty much a
expectations.
standard month with no surprises. And the balance sheet looks in order.
Okay.
And that's all I have to report unless there's questions.
Motion to accept the report is
So
presented.
moved.
It's first.
Second.
That time I heard Rob. I saw you though. Sorry. We have first, any other questions? Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The treasurer's report carries. Moving on to council reports. I think we start with you, Jay.
All righty. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to pass
Just
this.
one page, Jay.
I didn't get the report done, so you're
Well,
only
I
getting
just didn't know if I had to
the first
do two
section of
pieces.
it. Yeah. So what you have coming around in front of you is just a quick synopsis of the course that Marsh sent me to, the Advanced Economic Development Leadership course. And the reason I'm sharing as much detail on it is I thought it would be beneficial in our work in economic development to share some of that information. You can see that one of the first programs we had was on economic outlook. And of course, at that time, this was in October, the economist that was speaking to us from the University of Louisville or Louisiana, I forget. Anyways, he was, obviously relating everything to how things went with the election. He said, no matter what happens, the potential for a recession is there. But he also felt that, the bigger crisis, as we all know, is workforce development and trying to figure out innovative ways to deal with that, which, that went through the whole program. This was a week-long program, and every session talked about workforce. You'll see and I'm just touching some of the highlights here. You'll see in the section about site selectors. We have 3 national site selectors in the room. And one of the things they told us was that before they ever contact us, they're looking at our workforce and they will know what we do have and what we don't have for workforce availability. So that work has to be done well in advance of hoping to have a site selector call you and say, hey, we've got a project we'd like you to consider.
Does their data compare favorably to ours? I'm assuming we're using the same source.
I wouldn't say that they went through a lot of specific data. They were talking about making sure that your data is available.
Okay, so they're not doing their own.
No, they're going.
They're
Well, they have sources. Yes, they're not doing their own workforce data. They're going out to the resources that are out there, your state workforce data and so on, and they're researching that. And that really was one of the big things that, and I shared this with Marshall, that I took away during the site selector discussion was you have to make sure that your online presence is as excellent as it possibly can be. If you want to get noticed by these site selectors, by these companies, they're going to do all of their research that they can online. And the top 3 to 5 sites are the only ones that'll get a phone call. And the rest, you won't hear from them. So having that online presence, website, making sure the data are on there, the sites are on there, very, very critical. The other piece of that is the sites themselves. The big message they conveyed is if you don't have sites that are shovel ready or very close to shovel ready, you're not going to make their top 5 list. The companies are looking for sites that are ready to go, that have the infrastructure at least up to the property line and can support these projects. If you don't have that, you're not making their list. That's what these companies are looking for. So I thought, as I was preparing my report and I was thinking back on that, I thought it was very important to share this information with you, our board, and I'm also going to share it with the Ag Development Council, because on Tuesday we're going to have a conversation at the Ag Development Council. I had a request from one of the council members to go out and start doing cold call visits across the nation to the poultry industry to try and attract poultry operations into the county. And I've been gathering data to support my response, but my response is that's not how you do economic development anymore. Going out to poultry companies and walking in their door and saying, hey, we're from Jefferson County and want to know if you're looking for a site. You're going to spend a ton of money and not get very good results. So, I thought that I would put this in place for you. You can read the rest, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. But I did feel that, and I appreciate Marshall. Marshall had to kick me out the door because I'm not much on traveling, that type of travel anymore. And thanks to Marshall, the boss, he said, you really need to go to this, Jay. So I was glad I went. Beyond that, a lot going on in agri. Yes.
That's a quick question. You mentioned the online data. How does our website, are there any changes, or not changes, but updates or anything we would need to look at?
Absolutely, especially in that one piece about don't give a body count, because we give a body count. Exactly. We don't talk about how many welders or programmers or engineers are coming out of just using Fort Drum as an example. We don't talk about that. It's going to be interesting to see how we can get that data, but you're absolutely right. We do things like that are more general in nature, need to be specific.
Yeah.
So changes will come.
The other thing that they said, well, not the site selectors, later on, a person was speaking specifically about workforce. The thing she said is, and she used us as an example because we had, during class had done presentations and so on. She said, it's great that you have soldiers from Fort Drum, but so what? There's a lot of other Army bases around the country that have soldiers from Fort Drum. So what's the big deal? Why would this company want to come there? What is the added value of those soldiers? What skills are they coming out of Fort Drum with that they might not be getting someplace else? What's that added value that would cause a Micron to look at Jefferson County versus someplace out in the Midwest? And I thought that was pretty interesting because I never thought about that. We always cite numbers.
Right.
We don't add value to the numbers we cite. And that's very important.
In addition to a lot of that other criteria is those skills are with the individual and they can just leave the area. So we have to be careful about all of these other criteria, stable energy sources, lots of land. I don't know if we can talk about taxes, but I'll say that. Whatever. In the county, we do a very good job in the county. Bill has no control over anything else.
Yeah.
But I think all of those other things are, also important because our website does do a good job, giving those circles of how far we are from other regional distribution centers or markets. But also, maybe we do need to start talking about, at least our congresswoman is trying to get traction for advanced nuclear, small nuclear. We already have established nuclear. We already have a pretty good grid. We clearly have a lot of land, skilled people, et cetera, et cetera. So these are great things to add in that Fort Drum element. Or either in other countries. Let's not forget universities and BOCES and all the other places, individuals gain skills.
Yeah. No, it was a very valuable trip. I've been maintaining my contacts. There was 60. We had the largest class of this program ever. 60 participants. In fact, I'm setting up a podcast interview with one group that has a very successful food hub that is basically covering the state of Kansas right now. So, which is unusual. So
This economic outlook paragraph is kind of interesting but scary. There's an elevated risk of recession for the next 10 years.
Goldman Sachs put out their report here a week ago, and they were saying the stock market is way overvalued. Their projection was 3% return going forward in the next 10 years, which is really an adjustment period.
And he also talks about affordable housing and workforce are the biggest challenges facing everyone.
and that was the other takeaway, and I apologize for taking so much time, Mr. Chairman, but I thought this was a good discussion for the board.
Well, based on what we're talking about a little later in the agenda, I think it's very
Yeah,
appropriate.
yeah. There are a lot of economic development entities out there that are doing a lot of interesting projects to grow housing in their communities. And after listening to what everybody was saying and what was being said by the presenters there, it's something that, I know is on our radar screen as an important issue, but I think it's more critical than what I realized. So,
Well, and they reference dense housing, which when I look at the problematic areas in the county right now, that's what they need to solve their housing is dense housing. Places like Clayton, Sackett's Harbor.
Yeah.
It's not 10-acre estates or building lots in the country. They need Autumn Ridge housing.
For what it's worth, about 20 plus years ago, the Center for Community Studies at JCC did a really detailed study of retiring soldiers coming out of Fort Drum and assess their skills, not just their ordinary professional skills, but other things they could do. The data is pretty, and by the way, the predecessor for this board was the client for that research, so it's probably in a drawer somewhere around here.
Still relevant though.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one of those things you'd want to update it before you bet a lot of money.
It's the beginning part of a curve. I mean, we look at where we are today, hopefully we've grown.
And I think the population of soldiers is larger now.
Well, the skills are much different. Like now we get into AI. Before
Yeah.
it was like, whatever.
One thing that surprises me with the Fort Drum, to me, I see more examples of Fort Drum's wives in the workforce than I do the soldiers.
Post, you mean